Merry Christmas Eve. Today I would like to introduce you to a new Christmas tradition that we started this year in order to help us have a more Christ-centered Christmas season. Last year we were introduced to this book written by Marilee Boyack and illustrated by Shania J.C. Tenney. It's called The Mismatched Nativity. I would like to read this to you now. Joshua was new to his class at church, and he was feeling pretty lonely. The teacher, Sister Bennett, welcomed him and asked him to say hello. "Hello," he said quietly, staring at the floor and running his fingers through his dark hair. "Joshua moved from across the country," Sister Bennett said. She smiled at Joshua and said, "We're happy you're in our class. I think you're going to like it here." Joshua was silent for the rest of the lesson. The next week, Joshua was not in church. Sister Bennett said to the class, "Can you imagine how hard it would be to move from somewhere far away? Joshua could really use some love and friendship. Christmas is coming soon. What do you think about showing him that we're glad he's here?" Sister Bennett explained, "I have an idea. How about we could show Josh that he has friends who care about him? You will need to ask your parents for their help and permission, but I think there's something we can do to give Josh a happy Christmas in his new home." The next afternoon, Sammy stopped by Joshua's house with his dog. "Hey, Josh, want to go for a walk with me and my dog?" Sammy asked. Joshua smiled and agreed. He liked dogs. Sammy's dog was big and golden and had a long tail that bounced happily in the air. Joshua put on his coat and gloves, and the boys took turns with the leash as they walked the dog through the neighborhood. When they got back to Joshua's house, Sammy handed him a small shepherd figurine. Josh held it in his hands and rubbed his hands over the brown wood. "My mom said I could give you this from one of our nativity sets," Sammy said. "I liked the shepherds because they took care of their sheep, like I take care of my dog." Josh said thank you and set the small wooden shepherd, holding a strong curved staff, on the table by the door. A few days later, Maria knocked on Joshua's door. "Hi, Joshua," she said. "I'm Maria from your primary class. I brought you a treat." She held out a plate of Christmas cookies shaped like stars and a container of frosting. "Want to help me frost them?" she asked. After more than a little nibbling and finger licking, they had artfully decorated the cookies with mounds of frosting and colorful candy sprinkles. "I brought you a star from our nativity set," Maria said when it was time for her to go home. "My mom said you could have it." Josh held up the shiny gold star. He put it across from the shepherd on the table by the door. "Cool," he said. "Now the shepherd will know what direction to go." One Saturday, Taylor called across the fence to Josh, who was playing in his backyard. "Want to help me build a birdhouse? I'm making it for my mom for Christmas." Joshua climbed over the fence to Taylor's backyard. They worked all afternoon, carefully gluing and hammering the pieces together. When they were finished, they were both proud of the birdhouse they had made. "Wait," Taylor said, handing Joshua something as he started to climb back over the fence. "I made this for you. It will remind you of building the birdhouse together." It was a small manger with short pieces of straw tucked inside to make a bed. "Thanks," Joshua said. Back at home, he set the manger next to the shepherd on the table by the door. The next week, Keaton came to the front door. "Can you go sledding with me and my dad?" he asked. Off they went to the park, where Josh slid down the hill over and over with Keaton and his father. As they were driving home, Keaton reached into the sack sitting on the back seat. He handed Josh a tall figure. "This is Joseph from our nativity set," he said. "He reminds me of my dad because Joseph was good to baby Jesus and helped him." Joshua liked the tall figure with the kind face and tan robe, holding a small lantern in one hand. He placed Joseph by the manger and the shepherd. The next day, Holly caught up with Josh on the way home from school. "Hi, Josh. Do you want to come over and help us decorate our Christmas tree?" The children spent the rest of the afternoon hanging ornaments and stringing popcorn. When they were finished, Holly handed Joshua a porcelain figure of a pretty woman with long hair and a simple blue robe. "This is Mary," Holly said. "She's my favorite nativity piece. Someday I want to be a mommy like her." Josh thanked her and went home to put Mary next to Joseph on the table. A few days later, Angela rang the doorbell. "Can you come out and play in the snow?" she asked. Joshua put on his boots, and together they walked up the snow-packed sidewalk to Angela's house. With the help of Angela's 3 older brothers, they made 3 fat snowmen with big carrots stuck into their heads for noses. When they were finished, the children gathered around Joshua. "We have a gift for you from our family," Angela said. She handed him 3 wise men. "These are like my big brothers, and like our snowmen," one of the boys added. Joshua loved the colorful wise men with jewels and crowns and small packages. "Thanks a lot," he smiled, and gently carried the wise men home to sit them on the table with the other figurines. On Christmas Eve, Joshua and his parents examined their nativity set. Josh told his family about the things he had done with each of his new friends. Just then the doorbell rang. On the porch stood Sister Bennett, Joshua's primary teacher. "Hi, Josh," Sister Bennett said. "I brought you a present." Joshua's father invited her to come inside. "Well, that's quite an interesting nativity set," she said, looking at the table by the door. "But it is missing someone pretty important." Sister Bennett held out her hand to Josh, revealing a little figurine. "Here's the baby Jesus for your nativity set," she said. "This is the most important part. This will remind you that Jesus loves you very much." Joshua put the little baby Jesus in the manger. Now his set was complete. The doorbell rang again, and this time Joshua opened the door to find lots of people gathered on the front porch. "Hi, Josh," his friends from church called. "We've come to spend Christmas Eve with you." Juggling plates of food and treats, his friends and their families made their way inside. Soon the house was full of people laughing and talking. Joshua and his parents stood by the table with the nativity set as his friends and their parents crowded around. Every piece of the nativity set was different. "I recognize that shepherd," one father exclaimed, "but the other pieces don't look familiar." His wife smiled at him. "I made the manger," Taylor exclaimed, "and we added the wise men." Angela said, "I think it's right where they belong." "That's a pretty mismatched nativity set," said one of the parents. "It's true," agreed Joshua, "but I think it's the most beautiful nativity set in the whole world." "It sure is," Joshua's mom said. "That nativity set shows us what Jesus taught us, that we should love one another." The end. This is our mismatched nativity, complete with baby Jesus in the end. We had a little help from our elf on the shelf who delivered a piece of the nativity every week and gave the kids a little activity to help them focus more on the true meaning of Christmas and become more like Jesus Christ, so that we can in turn become more like our Father in heaven. For the lesson plan, check out our blog in the description below.